Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're answering philosophical questions. Join us as we share the best advice we've ever been given, what we're giving up, and what we've learned to make peace with. Let's get started. Listeners, today we're getting a little philosophical. Gretchen Rubin has a new podcast called Since You Asked. She and her co-host ask questions to their audience that we thought it would be fun to talk about here today. And actually, I thought these questions seemed like they would be fun, but they turned out to be a lot harder than I thought. What did you guys think, Julie and Mindy?
They were a lot harder, and I didn't get a lot of help from the other comments. Usually that kind of spurs on my thought processes, but I didn't get a lot of help there, so I had to dig deep.
Dig deep. I know. I felt like I had to come and go from this for like a week. Like reading some of the comments. It wasn't something that was a quick, oh yeah, I have an idea for that. No,
Yeah.
it was like a long process.
Like, I'm interested in the answers that other people
Yeah.
give, but I couldn't necessarily think of a lot
I
to provide.
know. I don't think I have advice. I think I have thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's start out with one that I thought was somewhat easy. I actually could think of a few things. So it says, what is something you stopped doing that improved your life more than starting something new?
First of all, I thought about why this was a thing, like stopping something. And did you guys think at all about Happy School?
Yes.
Yes, my mind
did.
went back to that book a lot, thinking about my answers. So obviously, bad habits. I like to stop. And I just remembered that she talked about, that you can feel like you're giving up something pleasurable, but she said true pleasures don't have hooks and toxins and cost and strings attached like bad habits do. So when you give up a bad habit, you're really not giving up a pleasure. Like those are short term things. You got to think long term. So I
Mhm.
tried to think about that. So my first thing was just stop. I stopped spending mindless time on social media scrolling. Because it did have a cost, wasted a lot of time, and then I kind of felt bad. And then there's the unhealthy comparison aspect. And so I still am on there, but I'm like we talked about in our last episode, I just use it as a resource for creativity and art. Not so much social as instructive.
That's good.
So that was my first one. The other thing was I've stopped all or none thinking because all or none thinking has kept me from starting things and trying things because I didn't want to start until I could finish, or I didn't want to start until I knew I was going to be good at it, or that I was going to have a block of time to do it or to work on it. Or I don't have to become an expert or be accomplished at something to at least try it and start it. So it's opened up a lot of things for me, that maybe I wouldn't have done. I guess that's all or none thinking, I guess, is another way of maybe linked to procrastination. It was a good reason for me to say, if I'm not all in, then I'm not going to do it. So I've tried to give that up, which is it's not easy to do because I've done that that's a very ingrained way of thinking for me. So it's hard to give that up.
Yeah, or do you think that it has something to do with like perfectionism too? Like if I can't do it perfectly. Yeah. So maybe not even just procrastination, but also perfectionism.
Yeah, but maybe that's why we procrastinate, I think it's all tied together somehow, but and some of it's just practical things like I've set up a sewing machine and a table upstairs. So when I want to walk away from it, like last night I needed to cook dinner in a hurry and I just left it all and walked away. I didn't have to get everything out and then put everything up and clean it up in order to cook dinner. So that has kind of helped with all or none thinking that I don't have to sit down and complete something in a certain time frame. That's really freeing to get stuff done.
If I could piggyback off that idea, because something that I feel like I've been trying to stop doing is comparing myself to myself. And the all or none thinking kind of fits with that. So I wanted to talk about it here. is just, before injury versus after injury, like it was a huge difference in what I was physically able to do. And learning these past 6 weeks just to celebrate progress, because progress and forward motion was very different than what I was
Mhm.
6 weeks ago. And so being able to celebrate at the end of the day, like, I'll say I've just improved so much. But recently I celebrated that I could walk the cul-de-sac. And that was a major goal of mine to get to that I couldn't do 6 weeks ago. But at the beginning of the progress, it was, I'm celebrating that I could wash my hair.
Mm.
I'm
Mhm.
celebrating that, I could be able to do a load of laundry. I wanted to do small tasks. And so I just setting goals each day and then just celebrating them and realizing that I could really be proud of myself, for progress for these smaller goals that were actually quite monumental at the time.
Mhm.
Yeah. That
And being
makes me
okay.
kind of think about the What If It's Wonderful book. That you're able to celebrate in the midst of something hard, but
Yeah.
you're celebrating what you can.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Under this one, let's see, what's something that I stopped doing that improved my life, more than starting something new? I don't know what I would have started new here, but what I did do was pretty much just stop watching the news.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I used to just, like, listen to talk radio in the afternoon or in the car or check the headlines. I've never been one to, like, turn the TV on to watch the news, but I would keep up with things. And now, I mean, it might sound kinda like put your head in the sand, but I can do nothing about any of it, so I'm tired of feeling nervous and sad about it.
yeah.
So, since I can't do anything about it, I'm just not gonna bother with it. And that
Mhm.
and you honestly can keep up enough by, like, just looking at the headlines every couple days. I mean, I am aware of what's going on in the world, but I don't need the play-by-play because I don't know, I guess that just depresses me because I can't change any of it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And if I thought there was anything that I could do to fix any of it, well, then let me pay attention. But if there isn't, then I'm just getting all worked up for nothing.
Right. It's a lot to absorb. I almost feel like it's better to watch the local news because I thought, that's what impacts me. What's happening down the road or with local elections, like that's where I could make a difference, not across the world. So I
Yeah.
Yeah.
agree. I've had to tune the news out a lot more than I used to.
Yeah, so I've kinda stopped doing that. One thing I also stopped doing along the lines of Julie was, I stopped having access to my social media after 9 p.m. Now I could make this anytime I
Oh.
want to because I bought a brick, and that is a little device, a little gray magnetic device that you, download the app on your phone, and then you set the schedule on when you wanna get rid of whatever app on your phone, and for me, it was social media. So every night at 9 p.m., it grays out and you can't click on it. Unless I
Hmm.
go over to the refrigerator and unbrick it, but that would have to be a rare instance. And then it stays grayed out. I can't get on it all night long until the next morning, decide, well, now I'm going to check it. So I'm going to go over and unbrick it. And it's
Mhm.
just been good for like my sleeping habits. Not that I don't still lay up
Mhm.
in bed awake, but it's probably better for my mental health that I lay in bed and read a book than it is lay in bed and scroll.
Right.
Because you'll
So
probably see some news in there at some
I
point.
I
know.
know.
I
I
know.
know. Even on social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at what some of the other examples were of things that people did. So some of the things that people said that they stopped doing, I liked this one: quit wearing uncomfortable shoes and skirts to
Oh, yeah.
work. But I do think that at midlife in particular, we really do decide I'm done with uncomfortable
Yeah.
shoes.
Yes. Absolutely.
Getting breaking news on my phone, apparently that applies to a lot of people. Some people said that they stopped using a digital clock in their bedroom and now they sleep so much better. I definitely always cover up any digital clocks like in a hotel room with like a towel or a washcloth because I don't like to wake up and immediately know how much more time I have to sleep. Do you guys sleep with a digital clock in your room?
No, I just have my
I do.
phone.
You do?
I have the oldest digital clock next to my bed. And when the power goes out, it's one that doesn't even get the time back. When the
Oh,
power comes back on, I have to go and change it. It's that old.
okay.
And I love it. I don't know why. It's something that is a comfort to have that there.
Okay.
And I do want to know what time it is. So even though it's my phone, I'll click on it just to see if I wake up. I want to know what time it is.
Yeah.
And see, I have it so I don't have to look at my phone because I don't want to see my phone and because my phone is silenced, but any notifications would show up and then that would catch my attention. So I have it so I don't have to look at my phone.
Okay. Here's an interesting one, and it kind of goes along with you said, Julie, about not comparing ourselves to other people. This person said, I unfollowed my business competition online. It wasn't doing me any good and only getting me agitated and comparing. Now I'm minding my own, in parentheses, small business. I think that would be really hard to unfollow your business competition, but obviously it must have really been affecting her.
Yeah, I think you'd kind of always be second guessing your strategies. Like maybe, like you might be like tossed all over the place as to what you should be doing. It'd be harder to.
Yeah. I like the fact that she was brave enough, though, to take care of her mental health
Just
first.
finally do it. I feel like sometimes, following different sites or whatever can really inhibit your own creativity. And so I think sometimes having, a break from the phone helps you dream and create and, have ingenuity that you may not have had. Because otherwise, I feel like everything I do is based on what I've seen.
Right. That's
So
true.
I could see her as a business owner being like, I need to actually strategize for myself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well,
Mindy.
yeah, and just having time that there's not input coming into your brain. Even if all this stuff is good, if you don't ever have any time to reflect on it or process it or think about it or like what is the meaning of this, it just kind of feels like a big jumbled mess, and it's creates some anxiety, I think.
I love this person. She wrote, cooking dinners every night. She's given this up. Cooking dinners every night and weekly house cleaning. We're retired. When you're looking at the last 25 to 30 years of life, what brings joy? Skip the rest. It's okay not to get it done today. There's tomorrow.
Aww. I have to wonder, though, what is she eating?
Yeah. I guess you could be going out or something. Yeah. Yeah. I love that, though, because I really cook less and less. And it's nice to hear other people giving themselves permission to.
Yes. Yeah, I think that Bryce and I are entering a stage that, we're still cooking when Nathan's going to be home for dinner. And then if Nathan's not going to be home for dinner, both of us are, scavengers. Like we both will do like a girl dinner, like with cheese and, charcuterie type things. And so we could piece things together just fine and be completely content.
Yeah.
So.
This person wrote, waiting for company to go somewhere. That's a big thing. Like, I never think about that, but
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I do usually wait and make sure someone else can go with me.
Yeah, I wish I was there because I know a lot of people that are there.
Really?
And they're like, I prefer to go by myself. I prefer to.
What are the things they're doing by themselves, Julie?
I mean, even travel. There are so many solo travelers. And I know personally, I know people that enjoy it. And then dinner, movies are a big thing.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm just not there yet.
I did meet a solo traveler on a cruise ship recently.
Oh.
And I was having breakfast on my own and doing my quiet time. And she was right there and we just struck up a conversation. And I was fascinated to hear that she was on her own. And she remembered me from like doing line dances the night before. But like we started seeing each other anyways. But she said she did it all the time.
So she just books a cruise and goes, and
apparently she lived in like Orlando. She lived near a cruise port. So she would regularly just go on these trips on her own because she just lived right there. So she just hop aboard.
That's amazing. Yeah, well, it's an easy way
was
to go
like-
by yourself because someone else is taking care of the travel aspect,
Yes.
and you just
yeah.
go ahead and do the enjoyment part.
It's just fascinating to hear how people live when it's so different than how you
know.
live. You're just like, wow, I never thought about
That
that.
would never enter my mind to do something like that. I would feel so unsafe. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like it stands out when somebody's alone,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like booking dinner reservations and things like that. And it's wild.
But I guess if you feel confident enough to do it and like you're doing it within the boundaries of something that is safe, it's a good way to be able to do it because otherwise you just might not go, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. On
Yeah.
my upcoming cruise, we have a Facebook group for all the people going because I only know the friend I'm going with.
Mhm.
And there's a whole little separate group of solo travelers, and they're going to have a little meeting to put them all together
Mm.
so that they can, make some friends, probably for dinner reasons and excursions and stuff. So I thought that
Wow.
was neat. That
Wow.
because I had to, I even thought to myself, like, what if my friend for some reason had to back out? Would I still go? And I think right now I would say yes, I would.
Mhm.
Wow. Yeah.
Just because I've invested a lot of thought and money and time into it. So I think,
Yeah.
no, I think I would still go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have a couple more, and this one also goes back to the Happy School book that we
Yeah.
did. And I've stopped awfulizing and catastrophizing. And I just love this quote from her book. She says, "The situation is unwanted and not preferred, but it's not cataclysmic."
Mm.
And I used to could do that about the smallest thing, from the
Mhm.
weather to something not working out the way I wanted it to. And I've learned that, and I think this is how you mature and grow, is you still do it, but then you stop sooner. You
Mm.
recognize that this is
Yeah.
leading nowhere, or this is going to lead to something bad and start spiraling. So I've
Mhm.
learned to kind of nip those thoughts in the bud, and
Wow.
you're like, no, this isn't preferred, but it's going to be okay. Like, we'll just
Mhm.
make the best of it. And I wish I had done that sooner. I really do, especially for my husband's sake.
Well, I was just going to say
Oh.
though, Julie, you could do that because you were married to someone who was super super positive.
Mhm.
So if you did that, he would just spin it so that
Yeah.
you didn't have to look at it that way. Then when he's not there anymore, it's like, well, if you only go with the cataclysmic thought, you'll never get out of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's true, because I've wondered why it has been easier for me, in light of all that's happened. Like, why would it be easier now? But I think that's why. It's like, I know nobody's going to bail me out
Mhm.
of
Yeah.
that thinking. It's going to be me, or I'm going to go down that spiral, and I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Mhm.
that's something that I've stopped doing. And then the last one was just stop saying yes to everything instantly, being more selective, trying to leave margin in my life. Because right after John died, I did say yes to a lot because I thought, this is what I need to do. And I don't know, maybe it was the right thing to do. Maybe it taught me, no, that's not the answer. Like, I don't
Hmm.
know if I did it fear of missing out, or just I wanted to look cooperative, like saying yes to things at church or whatever, like, oh,
Yeah.
I want to appear helpful or whatever. But it's not that I don't say yes. It's just that I think about it, and I'm going to pray about it and get back with you. I'm not just going to be like, sure,
Mm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
because I was doing a lot of that, and it's just getting kind of exhausting. And
Mhm.
I just like to have some margin, some free time in there.
Mhm.
So that's been helpful. So that was my last thing.
All right, let's go on to our next question. Our next question was share a simple piece of advice that changed your life. Well, Mindy, what did you have for this?
Oh my goodness. So I took one of the listeners' answers and I was like, yes, that actually really speaks to me. It was whatever you aren't changing, you're choosing. And I really appreciated, the simplicity of those words. And because as I pondered this question and then pondered this particular piece of advice, I was like, yes, that's with my health journey. That was something that I had to come face to face with, is that every day I'm choosing how I want to live health-wise. I'm
Mm.
choosing what I eat, I'm choosing when I move, I'm choosing when I go to sleep at night, I'm choosing my routines. Like, these are all things that I can choose. Nobody is forcing me to live the life that I'm living. And so, you've heard people say, choose your hard.
Mm.
Your hard is
Mhm.
either you're battling, diseases from lots of unhealthy foods for over years and years, or you're battling the hard of making yourself go work out and eating healthier foods. And so
Mhm.
you think, well, I have to make dinner every day. Well, you get to choose what you make.
Mhm.
You get to choose that. And so those are hard decisions. I'm not saying this in an easy way because I know how difficult it is. I had a doctor recently tell me some of the medicine that I'm on. He said, "Now this is going to make you crave carbs. You're going to want to eat all the carbs in the world. Just don't do it." Bryce and I just laughed. We're like, "Just don't do it." Okay, sure, yeah, it's that easy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And but I think that, exercise and wellness is just it is a everyday a bunch of decisions every single day. And so it's never just done. I took that also in with relationships, with making friends, with getting to know people. It really like you get to choose the relationships that you have, and also you get to choose whether you grow in relationships. And so you get to decide, what you put into conversations, prayer, time together, giving, inviting, just cultivating relationships takes a lot of time and prayer and intentionality. And so I think we get to also choose to have better relationships. Educational growth or job related growth. Some people are afraid to go back to school or learn a new skill. And I think, you can choose to stay, I'll say, ignorant in an area that maybe you grew up being like, oh, I wish I, could do that. I wish I could learn that. And I just think you get to decide whether you do that or not. You have the same amount of hours in a day. And I'm watching my daughter. She's going back to get her master's right now, and it was really hard for her to get started. And but once she got started, it's amazing how she's choosing to do that right now. And then the last piece, I had so much under this one thing.
Mhm.
Again, it was just whatever you aren't changing, you're choosing. I've just had a lot of fear come into my life recently, and I would say just, pain has a way of producing fear.
Mhm.
And so, in whatever way you feel pain, I just felt like I had so many fears come up and come to the surface, and they were crippling. I had to hit a point where, I mean, when you've sat in pain for long enough, you just can't stay there. You have to decide what to do with it. And, um, and so I decided to go back to the word and battle it with scripture, memorizing scripture, coming face to face with, things might be changing and being okay with maybe a new reality. And it's just pain produces so much. There's so much more to do a whole podcast on pain,
Mm.
what we
Mm.
learn from it and how we handle it and tackle it. But I would just say, battling fears in that, looking them straight in the face, turning a light on them so it's not so dark. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
that was all of the areas that I had
Yeah.
in that one particular thought right there.
Those are good thoughts.
You talked a couple different things were about choosing, and one of the things that I kept coming across that people wrote was not making a decision is making a decision. And I forget
Mhm.
that, like not ever deciding is a form of deciding.
Mhm.
My mind again went back to Happy School, and this is something that I didn't even have to look up. This is just something that really was impactful to me, when she talked about WMDs. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Not weapons of mass destruction, but what's missing and disappointing in life. We kinda all have a life plan, and we kinda think we know how it's gonna unfold, and we really expect it to go our way, and then when those things don't happen, however big or small, we can be disappointed. And there were lots of ways that she suggested we deal with those WMDs, but one of the things was to put it in a box and put it up on a shelf. And I think about that all the time because I really like visuals, like wrapping it up in this box and putting it up there. And sometimes it's leaving it till eternity, when God can deal with it, or it's when is it appropriate to bring that box down again? And it's if you're going to problem solve, if you're going to think, how could I make this situation better? Or if you're going to pray about it. And then if not, you got to keep it up there because it's just, you can't ruminate. You can't dwell on it and just go over and over and over in your mind. And I used to spend a lot of time ruminating on things that I didn't really think I could fix or maybe didn't want to fix because I thought I had a right to feel that way or whatever. But that's something that I took away from that book that I still think about weekly,
Wow.
Another thing, and I think this was in her book, she said, live with expectancy, not expectations. When we live with expectations, we're demanding what we want from others or from God. But to live with expectancy is to look to the future with hope and possibility, just more like with open hands. Whereas living with expectations, you have a tight grip on what you want versus just open hands with no guarantees of getting what we want, just taking what comes. And because really our happiness has very little to do with our circumstances or true happiness has very little to do with our circumstances. It's more about our thinking patterns and how we think about those things. And that has really been honed. That skill has been honed the last 2 years with me. So I appreciate that book so much.
Yeah. Good reminders for sure. Okay, so when I think back to pieces of advice that I remember, I have to think back to just when I was young. I don't know if I was in college or what, but I think Barbara Bush was the one that originally said this, but I remember my mom repeating it to me. No one ever wishes they worked more hours on their deathbed. And I don't know why that is always stuck with me, but I feel like it's really played into other things in my life too. What are you going to actually look back on and wish you did or wish you didn't? I don't know. It's kind of like a principle maybe in the back of my mind. I'm not really sure why, but it always struck me as very true.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I've thought about that a lot over the years. Another thing are just some things from Gretchen Rubin that, when we read Happier
at
and
home.
happier.
Happier at Home. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. So I feel like, I don't know which books she said these in, but something that can be done at any time is done at no time. And that is so true because a lot of times I put off good things because I could do them at any time. And so I don't do them at all. And I feel like it kind of boils down to taking things for granted.
Yeah.
So if you could go and see someone at any time, then you go and see them at no time because you could do it the next day. Or, maybe you feel like, oh, I could always take care of that. So you never get around to it because you could have done it any time. Whereas if there was a deadline, you would have actually done it. I don't know. It comes up so often. Something that can be done at any time is done at no time. And then, I once wore a bracelet a whole year. Not that it made me any better at it, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And I think this is kind of what you were talking about earlier, Julie. If I can't do it perfect, I'm not even going to start. Or if I don't have this huge block of time and I can't sit down and do it all at once and do it the right way, then I'm not going to do it at all. And you get less done waiting for things to be perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Because almost nothing ever is.
No.
So that's definitely something. And then another thing that someone said to me once, which is so true, and I'm not the best at it, but I try to be better about it, is people over things. It's really easy for me to not value things over people, but it sort of looks that way. Maybe I want to take care of something, so I don't want to use it. Or I get upset if something is ruined that somebody, I had a thing and then somebody ruined it, And, it really pops into your mind a lot when you have 5 kids because there's always somebody doing something to your things all the time.
It's true. Yeah.
Right, and there's a tension there. It's like because you want to teach them to take care of things and be good stewards, but there's a fine line there of
Yes.
not caring more about that thing
I
than them.
know.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
Yeah, Bryce and I have had that conversation a lot. He's like, "Just because we have it doesn't mean we have to let them use it. Because I don't want it damaged." Like, is this bad? Like, do I have to share my things?
Right. I mean, if there's anything about parenthood, it teaches you that you can't be selfish, but sometimes we want our own things.
I know. I do have a funny example about that, and it did work out okay, so I'll use this example. But yeah, my husband, he bought a really nice tennis racket to start to play tennis, and our son at college decided he was going to kind of pick up tennis. He was like, "Hey, can I borrow your racket?" And Bryce is like, "Oh, do I have to let him take it with him to college? I'm trying to use it." And so Bryce felt terrible, but he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just, I don't feel like I want you to take it. I want to use it." Well, thankfully, the son at college has been thrift store shopping, found one
Oh.
in a thrift store for $5 and is so happy about it. So, like, it all worked out, but, I mean, it was so hard to say no.
Well, because can he afford to replace it if something happens?
Yeah.
That's what we always thought about is like, who's going to replace this when it gets broken?
Right.
Right.
I know.
Right.
Now, Marie, I have a different saying that's very similar. You say people over things. I have said to myself a lot, people over preferences. So I say that a lot to myself because then I just like let things go. I'm like, is this just a preference? Okay, well, the person is more important than my preference. And so it helps me chill out about things.
Yeah. Yeah. Something similar that I saw that other people wrote down were don't love things that can't love you back, which I
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
think are things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like don't love them more than things that can love you back. Like basically things over people. Again, I guess I must really need that
Right.
lesson.
Ve- Okay, but with large families, though,
We're
Marie,
human.
cut yourself some slack here because when you have a lot of kids, things are broken all the time when they're at home. And like we have joked, like, we can't have nice things
Yeah.
because like everything gets touched or damaged or something like that. And when they grow up and your children are out of the house, like you have been able to maybe start cultivating your home like never before.
Right.
So, of course, you wanna keep it nice.
Yeah.
So
And
I
then you have
totally get you.
pets.
Uh-oh.
So it never ends.
Yeah.
Ugh,
No, it
so
doesn't. No, I appreciate you saying that, Mindy, because yeah, there definitely is a fine line, a balance. I guess this advice just kind of gets me to evaluate and maybe
Right.
check myself
Sure,
Yeah.
because
sure.
we can all fall into one camp or another.
Right.
Yeah.
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 All right, well, let's look at some of the things that their listeners shared. I never heard this before, but I thought it was really good. People who chose the small version of their own life will always warn you away from the big version of yours. I thought that was pretty
Ooh,
good.
yeah, that's
Hmm.
pretty deep.
I have to think about that one.
Yeah. This one. Once you stop doing things, you might never do them again. I read in a book and now I'm like, well, I better do the cartwheel or I may never do one again. I better do the water slide. That
Right.
is kind of
Mhm.
true. I mean, I
I
know
think about that
Right.
all the time.
you do.
Yes.
Well, especially as you get to midlife and you get older.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, because I remember you saying this about skiing, Julie. Like once you
Yeah.
stop skiing, because you'll see 80-year-olds skiing, but they never
Mhm.
stopped.
Right.
Like once you stop doing an activity like that, it's really hard to pick it back up. And so I think that's something to be thoughtful for as we grow
Right.
older.
Yeah.
Right.
I was trying to do the wakeboard every summer because I didn't want to give it up. Now it's been, 4 summers, so I might be done with that.
Ooh.
Have no opportunity.
I guess we have to also think like, are we sad to be done with that? Like, do
Yeah.
we care if we ever do another cartwheel?
Yeah.
Right. Part of it is just a mental thing, accepting that, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing a cartwheel,
True.
you know.
I know with the wakeboard, I just tried it for the first time this past summer and totally, like, drank half the lake, and, I was like Maybe you shouldn't start new things in your later 40s.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I wasn't like injured, but I was like, woof.
Right.
That's in all of my sinus areas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's that like skiing, I don't know that I'm sad about it other than it has a lot of good memories for me associated with it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mhm.
on the other hand, it's more just that I think I shouldn't. That kind of bothers me, but yet it's probably the best thing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because
Mhm.
there's other things I wanna do, like walk and drive.
Yeah. Like walk and drive.
Mhm.
My dad always told me, this is what someone put, don't bring the problem solving stage into the decision making stage. Make a decision because it's
Mhm.
a good one and then figure out how to solve problems as they come up.
I feel like John said that, yeah.
I wrote that. Okay, this is my husband too.
Yeah.
And I was like, he really is so good at this. And I mean, I will make the wrong decision or the easy decision or a quick fix. And he's like, that's not I know it's harder, but that's not the right thing to do or the best thing to do. And it's picking that,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Or
right
we would
decision.
make a decision, then a problem would come up, and I kinda thought that meant, "Oh, we made the wrong decision." And John said, "I thought we made this decision." And then,
Uh-oh.
he would
Yeah.
want to stick with the decision and then solve
Mm.
that problem, and I thought it meant we made the wrong decision, and I wanted to get out of it,
You're like, throw the plans in the
Yeah.
It didn't work out.
And then here's another one that someone wrote. The mental stress and exhaustion from expecting the worst is greater than the actual stress and exhaustion that would result if the worst happens.
Yep. I wrote that down.
Now, I don't know if I'll stop worrying about what might happen, but it's definitely good to remember that other people also do that and other people have good advice for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's another good one. Always take one step further than you dare. That one has encouraged me to take more risks. And when I'm going on a trip and thinking of everything that can go wrong, I think, but what if everything goes right?
Yeah. What if it's wonderful?
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, if you've gotten this far, just take one more step.
One more step
That's good advice.
just to know you can.
And then here's one. Never give up what you want most for what you want in the moment.
That's easier said than done.
That one is what made me think of the happy school again that we keep bringing up is choosing the higher self over the lower self.
Oh, okay.
Because that was like the same kind of methodology.
Yeah, the lower self just wants instant gratification.
Instant,
Yeah,
right.
instant comfort, relief. Yeah,
Mhm.
Right.
ease.
I saw one it said, "Don't set yourself on fire to keep others warm."
Mm.
I have
was
thought about
like-
that one before.
Ooh, I mean, especially when the kids were little, I definitely could have used that piece of advice.
Another thing from that book that I liked was it's a lie to believe that fulfillment and meaning in life only comes from ease and comfort and pleasures. And that is really true. Like, actually some of the deepest meaning and fulfillment comes from things that aren't easy. And most of my life has been about praying for comfort and ease.
Mm.
And
Yes.
I had comfort and ease for a long time, and it was a hard switch. But it's really true. It is.
Mm-hmm. All right, listeners, we have one more question, and it won't be as long because I don't think we had as much for this, but I did think it was a really interesting question. What is something that you've made peace with that used to upset you? Just love that question. I didn't have a lot of answers, but
Dirtier house. I mean, I feel like
that is kind of true. I guess I would say like raising a lot of kids.
Uh-huh.
Like you start out when you have one or two thinking that you can control a lot. And
Yes.
so like
Yeah.
you don't give up as much and you think you're in control and you think you can do it all. And you're very unpeaceful when things go wrong or they don't act right or it didn't work right. And then every kid you add, you let more go and you let loose of control and you realize you didn't have as much control as you thought. And you do kind of become more peaceful about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you're okay
Yeah.
with it.
Same thing just as your kids grow. Like when they're little, you have so much control and you think, I'm going to micromanage every little aspect of their life. It's going to be perfect. I'm going to make sure they have ease and comfort as much as I am able. And then as they grow and the more kids you have and the older and older they get, you realize, oh, I really don't have all that control. And they're going to go through some hard things, and I'm going to be there as much as I can, but I'm going to make peace with the fact that I actually am not in charge here.
Yeah, you could have one kid and have all that be true.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Julie, what have you made peace with?
Some just light ones that not that I've made peace with in the last year, but maybe looking back, I made peace with being gray.
Oh, yes,
I
you
colored
did.
my hair for years, and really until my daughter said, "Mom, why don't you just let it go?" And I did, and I've never looked back, and I've been really happy with that. And it was hard at first because I got a lot of more doors held open for me, and I hear "ma'am" more, and that
Mhm.
took a little getting used to because I felt like people were looking out for me, like I might need more help than I did.
Mhm.
But I just take that and say thank you. So I've made peace with being 60. It's not that bad. It's better than the alternative.
Right.
I've made peace with living in joggers and a sweatshirt most days. It's my uniform.
That's
And
right.
hey, if I can control some comfort and ease in my life, that's how I'm going to do it with my comfortable clothes. I even had to make peace with being tall. I mean, in school, I hated it. It bothered me so much because I was taller than boys. I was taller than most of my friends. It even said what position on the basketball team I had to play, where I was going to stand in pictures. And
Yep.
now I love it. I mean, past college, I loved it. I can reach the top shelf of my cabinets without a ladder. I don't need help getting my bag in the overhead compartment on a plane. Like there are some perks. And so I've just really embraced it. I like being tall. So
Mhm.
those are kind of just lighthearted things. But another one is making peace with unmet expectations, which is kind of a repeat of other answers I've had, but just making the best out of the one life you have. And it's up to me to decide what I want to believe about the circumstances in my life, and learning to make peace with all of that is something I've learned to do more recently because of my circumstances. And just that making peace with that life is uncertain. I used to think that anything that went wrong was like getting life off track, like there was a track,
Right.
and that we had to quickly fix this and get it back on track. And I don't think in those terms anymore, like of normal, abnormal. It's just this is life, and that uncertainty is really the only certainty. That it's a normal part of life, and once you see it that way, it's just a whole lot less frustrating than to always be asking why.
Mm. Mhm.
So I've made peace with that, and not that it's easy and I do it perfectly, but it just helps to think of life in that way. It guides me back to right thinking.
Mhm. When I looked at what Gretchen Rubin's listeners wrote, what are some things that they made peace with? It says, I've accepted that friendships can be temporary. People not being able to stick with you through your whole life doesn't mean they weren't important to you for a while, and it doesn't mean you weren't important to them too.
Yeah, I wrote that down too, that I had actually made peace with losing a good friend in midlife, and just realizing that I can't fix everything that's broken. And I think in the past, or even at the beginning of that process, I kept looking at maybe what I had done wrong or what I could have done better, and just realizing that some people change, and that does bring grief that you have to mourn, but then that's also a normal part of life. Like that's not, some people are for a season, you know?
Mhm.
I know making peace with my own life and all of the moves. I know if I were looking at what I felt like was missing, it could make me really, really sad, and I'm around people and they're talking about these friendships that they've had for 30 plus years. And I thought, I will never have that,
Mhm.
Mm.
maybe I will, but I mean, at this point, I haven't. And so that could make me really sad if I'm looking at what I think my kids have missed out on or what I've missed out on. But then when I look through the lens of what God has done through each place we've lived, the people He's allowed us to meet through each place, when I look at my children and how they've developed or who they are now, I see His hand woven all through it. I can't deny that He has used each place and each person for our good, for His
Mhm.
glory. And
Mhm.
so I can't look back and be sad about it anymore. My life is so
Mhm.
different than so many people that I meet, but I just can't deny that the Lord has done it. And so that's probably the major thing I would say I have learned to come to peace with. I am not the author of my life.
Mm.
The
Mhm.
Bible says that Jesus is our author and the perfecter of our faith. And that is a theme that I have clung to. And looking at him as an author, especially, you look at literature and books and, you consider those things. Looking at him in the light of an author has really helped me view him differently. Saying words like sojourner, I'm a sojourner, I'm a pilgrim. This world is not my home. It really helps me let go of temporary,
Mhm.
knowing that my home is in heaven. And so I might have a looser grasp, maybe, because I've had to let go so many times. At the same time, I know what I can cling to, and that hasn't changed.
Mhm.
And that language is really beautiful to think of him like he's writing your story. You're in the middle of it. It's not over. You don't know what's coming next necessarily, but you know who
Mhm.
the author is. And yeah, that's very, very comforting.
Mhm.
And I'll interject here that word expect. I've struggled with that word. What can I expect? And I have come to know that I can expect God to be good.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that is the one thing I can expect. While I
Mhm.
don't know what I can expect on this earth, the
Right.
one thing I can expect is that He is good.
Well, that seems like a good place to end our question part. Listeners, as we said before, we would love to have you come and find us and let us know your thoughts on these questions or any answers that you have. Come and find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast or email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
All right, this is kind of cheesy, but I'm a fan of my husband this week. Always a fan of my husband,
Uh-huh.
but in particular, he has been buying me flowers, and he has honestly really had to step in and be a caretaker for me over these past 6 weeks, but in the midst of that, he's buying me spring blooming flowers, and
Mm,
so on my porch, he made sure to surround me with flowers because I could kinda go outside and sit on my front porch swing, and
yeah.
so I have some hyacinth blooming out there, which
Mm.
smells heavenly. It is the sweetest scent in early spring, and I think it's pansies or yeah, I think it's pansies. So really colorful and they can still handle kind of the coldness. But then
Mhm.
today, he bought me some little daisies.
Oh,
And
Oh,
cute.
so
my favorite.
I'm so thankful. Like he just keeps, he's taking care of me, but he's also providing color and new life and all of that. So
Oh, that's nice, and I know you enjoy your yard and your landscaping, and so
yeah,
that's, one of your love languages.
Mhm.
flowers, absolutely.
Yeah,
Way to
that's
go, Bryce.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
I'm a fan of a podcast that I just started listening to for a specific reason. Somebody that I really respect just mentioned that they listened to this. And then I heard that it was a good place to go if you wanted to learn about Iran, because I know we kind of laughed that we listened to less news, but I wanted to understand like what's going on because like when the hostages were taken back in 1979, I was in 8th grade. I really don't remember much about it except everybody tied those yellow ribbons around the trees,
Mm,
to honor and pray for them to come home. And I remember that Jimmy Carter was president, and that's about it. So this podcast is called The Rest is History, and they did a 4-part series on the revolution in Iran. And it's these two guys, one is British and one is Australian. So it's not a funny podcast, but they are humorous. It's just interesting to hear British people talk about American politics because it's just a whole different light. Like they'll say, and even by American standards, they had a president who was a peanut farmer. Like, imagine that. He's the most unlikely man to be president, and he showed up on TV wearing a cardigan one time. And, like they just don't understand how that's not very statesman-like. He was in a cardigan, It's just funny to hear them kind of laugh in a good way about us. And I've just learned so much. This story is like an epic. It's like one of the biggest revolutions in the world, like up there with the French Revolution. And it's very dramatic. So I've learned about the hostages. I've learned about President Carter. I've learned I tend to, and this is in my ignorance, lump everybody in the Middle East into the Arab nation. And they're like, no, these are Persians. They are not Arabs. And, if I went back to my Bible history, I would remember that. But it was just a good reminder. And then they are an Islamic nation, but they're not Arabs. And the Shiites and the Sunnis, you hear all these words on the news, but I didn't know what they meant. So they're doing a great job. They're really good storytellers. So they're doing a great job of explaining all that. So I find that not stressful because it's going back to understanding they mentioned the founding of BP Oil, the gas station and all, all of that, who the Ayatollahs are and who the Shah was. And so
wow.
I've just kind of taken a deep dive into that, and it's been very educational.
Okay. Well, that sounds interesting. I'll definitely put a link to that in our show notes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. This week, I'm a fan of a linen blanket. I just get so hot at night, you guys. And I think probably other women in midlife get hot also. So I was looking at what I sleep with, thinking, how can I get less hot? Because I can't just sleep with no blankets, because then I feel kind of exposed. So I like something on my shoulders. So anyways, I started looking into linen, and I got a linen bedspread blanket thing at Home Goods. But then I was I don't know if it's enough quite by itself. But then in the middle of the night, sometimes it's too much if I have two of them. So I'm up and down. But here's a linen throw that I got. Kind of doesn't have to cover the whole blanket, but it can cover me. And then when I get too hot, I can just easily take it off. So it says 100% linen blanket. This is on Amazon. It's a throw blanket. And it's kind of a little bit bigger than some of the other throw blankets. So I think a lot of them are 50 by 60 when I look at throw blankets. This one's really 79 by 63. So it's bigger than your standard throw. So it covers you a little bit better, but it's not suffocating the whole bed. It's a nice neutral color. So I'm going to put a link to that. I'm hoping that linen might breathe a little bit more than something else and just be a little lighter, because now we're starting to get some days in the 70s here, and I've already turned on my air conditioning, but I just still feel too hot at night. You can check it out if it might help you if you sleep hot like I do.
Oh, that's great. That's good.
All right, Julie and Mindy, I enjoyed these philosophical questions. I think we went pretty deep. And
we did.
As always, it was very interesting.
It gave me lots to think about. Thank y'all.
All right. Well, we'll talk with you next week.
All right.
Sounds great.
Okay,
Bye.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.